Namaste everyone and welcome to this full moon meditation. Before we start, let's ask for divine blessings to the Supreme God, to the Divine Father, Divine Mother, to all the holy masters, holy gurus, holy saints of all traditions, to all the holy angels, healing ministers, spiritual helpers, to the beings of light, and to all the great ones. We thank you for your priceless blessings, for divine guidance, help, healing, and protection. Thank you for the blessings of divine love and mercy. Thank you for the blessings of physical healing and inner healing. Thank you for the blessings of clarity of mind, a deeper understanding of the prayer of Saint Francis of Assisi. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for blessing us with a kind and generous heart, an intelligent mind, and a powerful will, that we may serve others. With thanks and in full faith, thank you. So welcome once again. So before we do the meditation tonight, we thought we'll talk about the prayer of Saint Francis of Assisi. Now, most of you must have been doing the meditation on Twin Hearts for quite some time. And we all know that Master has used the prayer of Saint Francis in this meditation. While we all have benefited from it and continue to benefit from it, it's probably a good idea to understand it more deeply so that when we have a better understanding, we have a deeper appreciation of what we are doing. And therefore, perhaps do it more intensely and perhaps more motivated to share it with many other people. Okay. Now, while we are doing it for a lot of time, maybe some of you must be meditating on Twin Hearts for quite a long time. But if you've tried to actually read the book and the text contained within the book of all the steps and every single word that Master uses, if you've already tried it, you may have had a better idea of some of these phrases. In fact, just to give you a parallel to it, is like when you watch a movie, like for example, a movie which it is not in your language, let's say an English movie, and you watch it first time, you enjoy it. But next time when you watch it with subtitles, you have, and perhaps there were quite a few jokes in between, a few things which you missed out earlier. And then suddenly when you read those lines in the movie, you realize, hey, come on, I missed it last time. And you're able to enjoy it better. In the same way, when you hear the meditation and at the same time read the text, because if you have already transcribed it or in the book or in whatever form, then you see the meditation in a different way. You understand the meditation in a different way. So the idea of this session is to give you a little glimpse into the prayer that we have been using, and therefore we will be able to appreciate it better. Now, the first thing that we need to understand is that, we all say that we are not the body. We are the emotions and thoughts and so on. I am the soul. Now, just as we realize that we are not the body, we are the soul. We've been coming to this earth. We have been coming to this earth for many times. In the same way, the Saint Francis is also a soul, right? And one of the things I would like to share is, a little bit of history into it. So before Saint Francis, who actually came somewhere around in the body of Saint Francis, he lived on earth somewhere around 1181 to 1226 in those years. But before that, he was a great mathematician in the previous lifetime. Of course, there could be many other lifetimes in between, but the same soul, and this is according to the theosophical teachings. Theo means ancient, Sophi or Sophia means wisdom, ancient wisdom, or Theo also means God or the wisdom of God, something like that. So according to the theosophy, it is the same soul which was incarnated in the body of Pythagoras or Pythagoras. That's why we have learned the Pythagorean theorem. Then came back in the form of Saint Francis and gave this prayer. In fact, when you try to Google it or study a little deeply, it is said that the prayer is attributed to him. It's not very clearly mentioned that it was given by him, essentially. However, of course, we don't have to believe everything what the Wikipedia says or Professor Google says. So we'll keep that aside. From the way we understand it, is that the prayer, at least at that time, was given by this great saint. Now, this great saint and this great soul then later on came back as Lama Tsongkhapa or Tsongkhapa. He was a great saint who incarnated and lived between 1357 to 1419. His job was to revive the Buddhism in Tibet and those areas. In fact, the Tibetan Buddhism, which was given by Mahaguruji Meling, the teacher of our beloved teacher. But then over a period of time, the teachings degenerate, and it is the sometimes responsibilities of different disciples to revive these teachings. So this soul came back in 1357 and between that time period as Lama Tsongkhapa. In fact, it is possible that you have seen these images with a very long hat, beautiful orange or golden looking hat. And then this is the same soul who is in the body of a Holy Master Kuthumi. HM stands for Holy Master, or Mahatma Kuthumi. The spelling is sometimes put as this way, or it could be KOOT space Humi, HOOMI, Kuthumi. That's why he's also sometimes referred as KH, Master KH. Now, Master KH, in fact, is in the line of taking the office of Christ. As we have discussed on many other occasions in the past, that Christ is a title or an office, okay, which is taken by different higher beings or so-called holy masters and ascended masters from time to time. The last one, obviously, we were aware that in the form of Jesus the Christ. So Jesus is the name, Christ is the office or the title. And according to the teachings, it is the Lord Maitreya who is currently sitting in the office of Christ, is the present Christ. So in fact, Lord Maitreya took the body of Jesus, the disciple, and came as Jesus Christ. And now when he vacates the office, the so-called title, it's like, when you move from in your organization, let's say, I don't know, maybe you are a vice president and then you become a president, and from there you become a CEO or something like that. So in the same way, when Lord Maitreya vacates the office of Christ, Mahatma Kuthumi is supposed to take over the same position. And of course, Lord Maitreya would take over the position of Buddha, who is presently chaired by Lord Gautama Buddha. So that's how the hierarchy is. But the point here is, what we are saying is that the prayer is given by a very, very great soul. So that's the first understanding. Now, let's do it a bit fast forward. And the modern appearance of this, by the way, I have the image of Lord Maitreya also. Very interestingly, when I was reading about these holy masters like Master Kuthumi, Master Dwalkul, Master Maurya, Lord Maitreya, many, many years ago, when I first read about them, I tried to, search for their photos and details. Somehow I couldn't find much. But suddenly, I think it probably happened last year or somewhere around then, is when I first started noticing their photos emerging. So I don't know what's the correlation, but earlier the details were difficult to find. Is that an indication? I do not know, but it is what it is, at least according to my observation. By the way, this is Lord Maitreya. Looks very similar to the appearance of Lord Christ. Perhaps the painter may have drawn the body very similar to Lord Christ. But one of the things we have to understand for these kind of holy masters, as an exceptional case, their bodies are preserved, because such holy masters, when they descend, if and when they descend lower in the realm that we live in, it is very, very difficult and very, very rare to find a perfected body. And these bodies which have been perfected, they are preserved for the purpose when, if and when they come down for whatever purpose, they can quickly incarnate into it and take it. That's why in many such cases, you will find that the physical appearance of some of these masters look very similar. That's the reason, because the bodies are preserved. So in fact, about Lord Kuthumi or Mahatma Kuthumi, there's a very beautiful, description of his physical appearance. I'll just read from this book very briefly, just a small paragraph. I'm just giving you an extra background to it. We'll get into the prayer in very, very soon. The Master Kuthumi wears the body of a Kashmiri Brahmin and is as fair in complexion as the average Englishman. He, too, has flowing hair, and his eyes are blue and full of joy and love. His hair and beard are brown, which, as the sunlight catches it, becomes ruddy with glints of gold. His face is somewhat hard to describe, for his expression is ever changing as he smiles. The nose is finely chiseled, and the eyes are large and of wonderful liquid blue. Like the great Lord, he too is a teacher and priest, and many centuries hence, he will succeed him in his high office. Of course, we're talking about, as I explained earlier, the office of Christ, and eventually the next Bodhisattva and Buddha, all these hierarchies. So he will succeed him in his high office and will assume the stature of the world teacher and become the Bodhisattva of the 6th root race, which is the next race. We are in the 5th race and 5th sub race of the 5th race. So 6th root race is the next one, which will come later on, many thousands of years later, perhaps. We are a little far away, but he's already in the process of taking that, path. Now, coming to the present times, what happened is this prayer of Saint Francis appeared in public domain, so to speak, in 1912 in France as a peace prayer, and in a magazine called La Clochette, or in English it translates as the Little Bell. And it was given to the Pope Benedict XV so that he could popularize it, and he popularized it as a peace prayer to be used during the masses. You know, the masses in Christian tradition, every Sunday they go for a mass service or something like that. So it was given to him in 1915. He started popularizing it, and then from there it moved to Italy again, and was published in the book called Osservatore Romano, Italian magazine or something like that. And the first known English translation, at least the known one, if it has happened before, we don't know, but at least the first known English translation of this prayer was in 1936 in the book called Living Courageously by Kirby Page, Kirby, Kirby Page, Page, Page. And very interestingly, from there on, and it was actually between the two world wars, right? The First World War and the Second World War, it was still slowly propagated, but especially during the World War II, its propagation became much more. It was being given. And also, most of you will probably recollect that we spoke about the Great Invocation, which was also given around the same time. So there was a purpose behind these prayers suddenly appearing in, the consciousness of mankind. And as we will, go deeper into this prayer, we will understand the implications of it. But essentially, in the idea was to be able to bring down or anchor the energy of peace. Okay, that's why the prayer of peace. In French, it is called prière pour la paix, something like that. I'm not trained on French, but something like that, which translates as prayer for peace. So that's a bit of modern history about this prayer. I wanted to give you this extra background of it so that at least you appreciate that this prayer is not only ancient, but also was brought to human consciousness or for the humanity for a certain purpose. And of course, now it is through meditation on Twin Hearts. Whenever we are spreading Twin Hearts meditation to others, we are also spreading this prayer of Saint Francis of Assisi, which has its own far-reaching effects. Now let's move to the actual prayer itself, okay? So, of course, probably you all know this prayer anyway. So let's not worry about the words for now here. So let's get into each line and see what each of it means essentially. So the first line is, by the way, we'll try to cover the meaning of the prayer from exoteric perspective or the form aspect of it. And also we'll try to see, at least to a certain degree, what is the implication on the chakras. How do the chakras get the energy depending on the phrases that are being used in this prayer. Okay, so the first line, which says, Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. So let's first take an external look. When Saint Francis is saying Lord, he's referring to Lord Christ and the Supreme God, because he's saying, Lord, make me an instrument. So the word instrument means that the instrument does not own the light or the peace or the energy that we are talking about. He's making a channel. So what essentially the starting line of this prayer indicates the aspect of humility. That with all humility, we ask the Supreme God, because ultimately everything flows from the God, saying that, Lord, make me an instrument, a channel. Now, there are multiple things that happen here. When the person says, make me an instrument, what happens to that person? When he says, wherever there is hatred, let me sow love. Wherever there is darkness, let there be light, and so on. So when the person says, make me an instrument of your peace, knowing what we know of the energy, what happens? The energy of the peace flows through the person. Okay? And when the person says, let me sow love, the energy of love passes through the person. When the person says, wherever there is hatred or injury, let me sow pardon and forgiveness, the hatred within the person is transformed. The injury is transformed into pardon and forgiveness. So the feelings of hurt are changed into forgiveness. So if you observe, something of a lower nature is being transformed into something higher nature. So that is why first of all, this is a transmuting prayer or an alchemizing prayer. Alchemy, which came from the medieval times, it was used to denote converting a lower or a base metal like lead into something more refined metal like gold. But spiritually speaking, when you see the aura of a person who is filled with a lot of anger or resentment or jealousy and so on, the aura of such a person looks very, very gray. and dark. But when these, prayer is used, it is observed clairvoyantly that the aura starts to emit specks of light. And as the person continues to do this meditation, this light becomes brighter and brighter, and the whole aura is filled with light. So it has that alchemizing effect. So this is the transmuting prayer. That's the first thing. Okay. So just by saying the prayer alone, whether you realize it or not, there is an inner alchemy taking place. Okay. So the energy within you changes. Now, in fact, this transmutation aspect is also reflected in Master's other teachings. If you take, for example, those who have done psychic self-defense, you know that when you create an etheric auric shield with some color, right, you then paint the shield with pink and gold. What do you do that for? What happens when you do that? The negative thoughts that are directed to you, knowingly, unknowingly, will be transmuted into the positive ones, and they are sent back to the sender. Okay. But when it is returned, it does not go as a negative form. It is changed into a positive form. Okay. So despair and doubt also in the same way, coming from other people, we don't realize that we are living in an ocean of energy. And again, whether we like it or not, most people are still, so to speak, wallowing in mud. In most cases, people have negative thoughts, the thoughts of despair, the thoughts and emotions of helplessness and doubts and resentments and the angers and many other such things. So when we walk, when we live in such an ocean, knowingly or unknowingly, our aura starts to absorb these things. But what happens when you create that shield and you transmute it? I mean, when you then paint it with pink and gold, it has a transmuting effect on the so-called negative thoughts and emotions that we are swimming into, or something which is consciously being directed towards you. So if you can use this prayer of Saint Francis of Assisi on your shield, then you can transmute these negative thoughts, negative emotions from other people into more positive ones, and you can actually make your shield last longer. Typically, we create the shield for about 12 hours or 24 hours or something like that, right? But imagine that, your shield is also programmed with this prayer of Saint Francis, and wherever you go, you are literally transmuting all the thought forms, the energies of people around you. So this is your second level of truth, or second level of understanding of this prayer. Not only you get healed internally, as you use this prayer, your aura inside out, and of course, as you can paint the shield or your aura with this prayer, you literally become like a walking alchemizing unit, so to speak. You can literally change the energy of the people around you. That's why some of you may have felt, as a recipient or the other way, that let's say when you meet some people, you're filled with so much of, like I was sharing my example a few days ago when I met Master, and I was in a emotional turbulent state, was so much, there. And then the moment he looked at me with the corner of his eyes, it was like a complete sweeping away of my entire, all those negative thoughts and emotions. And there was tremendous amount of stillness and clarity of mind. In the same way, when you practice meditation on twin hearts, and especially if you use this prayer of Saint Francis of Assisi, you can affect the people around you. So it's not just you who is getting benefited, it is the people around you who are also getting benefited. That's the next level of understanding. The third level, let's go a little deeper. Now, Master incorporated this prayer into the twin hearts meditation. So what is the impact? What happens in the twin hearts meditation? You are blessing the entire world. So which means not only the energy of the people around you, but also of the entire world can be transmuted into the positive ones, from negative to positive. Wherever there is injury, there will be pardon and forgiveness. Perhaps it will sow the seeds of forgiveness. Wherever there is despair, let there be hope, and so on. So you are able to reach, through this meditation, you are able to reach not only just a few, you're able to reach the entire planet Earth. Okay. Now, in that sense, when you think about it, at the first level of understanding, this is causing or resulting into self-healing. In the second stage, we are able to bring healing for a few people. In the third aspect, or the third level of truth, when we understand, we are able to bring the healing to the entire earth. So that is why meditation on twin hearts is also a form of world service, because the world is transformed to a certain degree every time somebody does twin hearts meditation. But we also have to be realistic, of course. We are talking about the entire planet Earth and billions and billions of people. So the more number of people can do twin hearts meditation, the more impact we can create, the bigger the dent we can create and change the earth. We'll talk about it later anyway. So that's the third level of understanding, right? So first level, inner transformation. Second is the transformation of the people around you. And third is the transformation of the entire earth. Okay. Now, by the way, we have just covered the first line. I mean, we have still not finished the whole aspect of it, but at least just to give you a glimpse. Now let's go to the next step, the next line. It says, wherever there is hatred, let me sow love. Now, what is this about? Now, there is a saying that in India especially, without love, there is no ananda or bliss, which I think is anyway the technology of twin hearts. Without the heart chakra opening, crown chakra cannot be opened. The bliss that we talk about, or the ancient scriptures have talked about, essentially comes through the crown or from the crown, or it is experienced through the crown chakra. So the secret lies in opening the heart first. So when we say the prayer and this line, wherever there is hatred, let me sow love, the heart chakra starts to open up. The energy immediately is directed to the heart chakra. One is obviously in the first part of the meditation. You have to understand that there are many parts of this meditation, many aspects of it, right? We are not yet talking about the mechanics of it. In the meditation, you are focusing on your heart and then blessing the whole earth, and then crown and blessing the earth, and so on. Keeping that aside, we are purely focusing on the prayer itself for now. So when it says that let me sow love, the love is the antidote of HATE. Now, in almost all the esoteric traditions, it is said that you should remove the word HATE from your vocabulary, because the energy of this is very, very low, very, very low. In fact, it is very dark and very, very heavy, the energy of this phrase, of course, unless it is used in a prayer like this, of course, right, where you are immediately transforming. But people have a tendency to say, hey, I HAT this one or something like that. If you really want to say it like that, you can probably change the word or switch the words to say, I really dislike it or something like that, right? But as much as possible, remove this word from your vocabulary entirely. Okay. And the more you meditate on this phrase, the easier it is for you to probably erase it from your normal day-to-day conversations. Another aspect to understand here is, what is the implication of the heart opening as the first thing? Because let's take a step back talking about how the heart chakra looks like. The heart chakra, seen clairvoyantly, appears with the colors of gold and red. Of course, there in some other traditions, traditionally it is shown green. Of course, there is nothing green actually in heart. What the clairvoyants see as green is actually on the surface, but not actually the deeper aspect. So we'll not go into those details, right? We are not trying to resolve any conflict as such, but there is no green in heart. So the heart chakra appears red and gold. Now, have you heard the phrase which says that it's when you love someone so much, or when you are generous towards someone so much, or you have so much of compassion, people tend to say, hey, you have a heart of gold. It is not just a phrase. Esoterically speaking, actually, the heart chakra starts turning more into golden energy. It produces more golden energy, and hence the phrase came into use. Now, as we understand that the golden energy, those who have studied advanced pranic healing and Arhatic yoga, you may be aware that the gold energy is required for many different purposes. Obviously, first is the alchemy aspect of it, which we are discussing right now. So the alchemy really starts at the heart. And without the heart opening up, this doesn't open. And without the heart opening, the next line, which is, wherever there is injury, let me show pardon and forgiveness. Without the heart opening, forgiveness is difficult, if not impossible. So the alchemy starts here. The inner alchemy, actually in the book, The Spiritual Essence of Man, Master has very elaborately explained, and in one of our videos last year, we talked about alchemy, which takes place at different levels as far as forgiveness is concerned. But alchemy cannot take place unless this is triggered, the heart chakra is triggered. And that's why the prayer starts with the first line, wherever there is hatred, let me show love. From there it goes to, wherever there is injury, let me show pardon and forgiveness. Because when this opens, it is easy for a person to start forgiving. Because you start to realize that, nobody is perfect. We are all evolving. And the evolution implies time, process, and lots of dumb mistakes. Time means what? I mean, I don't probably have to explain you the time aspect of it. We make mistakes and it takes time to correct one after the other. Process means in the sense that, we make mistake, we go back, we rectify certain actions, behaviors, and so on and so forth. We take a structured approach at times or consistent approach. In that sense, it is process, and a lot of dumb mistakes. Just as we make mistakes, other people also make mistakes. Just as when we make mistake, we expect others to forgive us and give us another chance. I'm sure nobody here would say that, hey, when I make mistake, I intend to be terminated. No. We all would like to say, hey, okay, I made a mistake, give me another chance, right? So just as we expect it for ourselves, we also understand that the other person could also be making a mistake and should be given another chance. Again, we'll not go too much into this, because if you want to refer to the detailed conversation about forgiveness, we'll refer you to the other video on forgiveness. But that's the next line, okay? Wherever there is injury, let me show pardon and forgiveness. The third line is, wherever there is despair, hope, doubt, faith. Now, whether we like it or not, I mean, the world has a lot of suffering. People are suffering from many, many things, whether it could be financial issues, whether it could be relationship issues or health issues, or the spiritual emptiness and things like that. In fact, we can do a very interesting experiment just to give you a quick idea of how this works. As you bless others, those who are having despair and doubts, when you start blessing them, how it changes you. For example, Scan the energy, all of you, I think most of you are pranic healers, or all of you pranic healers, scan the energy in your basic chakra. You say the prosperity energy in my basic, just get a rough idea. Say prosperity energy in my basic chakra. Okay, get a rough sample. Next, raise your hands in blessing. Visualize the people who need blessing, who are suffering financially, especially have lost their jobs or are having any financial difficulties. Focus on your heart and crown and silently bless them. Be aware of these feelings, these energies and these blessings. Do not just bless mechanically. Say, may you be blessed with tremendous prosperity and abundance. May your life be blessed. May your life be healed. May you have all the right resources to live a proper and decent life. May you be blessed with right opportunities. May you be blessed with hope and with faith that there is a better tomorrow. So be it. In the name of Supreme God, in the name of Lord Mahaguruji Meling, in the name of Master Choa Kok Sui, and all the higher beings, so be it, so be it, so be it. Okay, Tathastu. Now, scan the prosperity energy in your own basic chakra. Scan. How many of you notice that it has really expanded just by blessing others? Of course, it is in the energy world, but also can be further magnified by helping others in need. That's why we have been given the technique of tithing as an example, right? Master says, right? Do not just bless people with goodwill, also bless them with the will to do good. So while you bless, your energy changes. At the same time, if you want to make it relatively permanent in you, you will also do the acts of kindness and generosity and so on. This is just one example, by the way. So what happens is, as you bless others with hope and with faith, as their life changes, it starts to change energetically first, you also notice that your energy is changing. So this is another example of while you're helping others, you're changing for others, there is an inner change happening within you. Okay. Then from there, the meditation goes into, or the line goes into wherever there is darkness, light. What is this darkness about? The darkness here, which is being referred, is in most traditions, it talks about the so-called darkness of ignorance. Okay. So the light here refers to obviously the light of knowledge and wisdom. If a room is dark, you cannot use a vacuum cleaner to suck the darkness out of it, right? What will you have to do? You'll have to light something there so that the darkness is removed. So as we do this meditation and as we bless the earth, number one, the effect is on us to, our own darkness is removed. We have so-called clarity of mind, right? And then from there, as we are blessing others, when they are also guided, sometimes, again, these phrases are related. The phrases of despair, hope, doubt, faith, darkness, light. What happens when somebody is in a situation of despair and doubts? The mind cannot think clearly. The mind cannot get new ideas. It is almost like a dark phase, right? As if, symbolically speaking, there is no light at the tunnel or at the end of the tunnel. But as you bless others with light, first of all, your light is increasing. As you bless others, they are guided. Their despair and doubt are transformed into hope and faith. and simultaneously from darkness they are moved to light. Light means suddenly they have a flash of an idea or some inspiration or some energy which says, hey, you know what, everything's going to be all right, don't worry. So suddenly from the dark tunnel, the dark end of the tunnel, people can start seeing the light in the tunnel or at the end of the tunnel. Okay, that is one level of understanding, of course. And if you just divide these, the negative qualities and the positive qualities which are referred to in this prayer: hatred, love, injury, pardon and forgiveness, despair, hope, doubt, faith, darkness, light. If you sum all these five, there is so-called sadness. So the sadness or the depression is the summation of these aspects here. That's why this line comes in the end. And on the other side, the summation of the love, the forgiveness, the hope, the faith, the light is joy. Joy is referred as, in different traditions, they talk about that joy is different from happiness. Happiness is mostly dependent on something external to you. Right? If some external condition changes, your happiness can vary. Joy, on the other hand, is internal. Joy comes from the experience of the soul. Happiness could be dependent on the other thing. That's why the phrase here used is joy, not happiness. Of course, there is happiness, but what you experience is the joy aspect of it, because then your soul can experience joy truly. In fact, there is a saying that the medicine of depression is service, or the cure of depression is service. You know why? Because when you do service, your heart chakra is triggered, your crown chakra is triggered, and these open up, this whole alchemy starts taking place, and from sadness, you move to the joy, which is the summation of all these. That's the first part of the prayer. We have, so there are, of course, more meanings. Now, take another few minutes. It's already, yeah, but we'll give you some more details about it. Now we have understood, at least to a certain degree, the meaning of the phrases, right? How they are used or why they are used, why in a specific sequence. But I think the sequence will become clearer when we understand the effect of these phrases on the chakras. Why something like that happens. And this is what the true deeper understanding is, right? Again, we'll not cover the entire prayer. It's a long prayer. We'll at least give you some hints and ideas. Now, the words like love and forgiveness and hope and faith and all of that, not only they have a meaning, they are all associated with different vibrations and different energies. For example, Master has indicated in his book called Christianity Revealed, where he talks about, or those who are from the Christian background, you may have heard of the story of the 10 maidens. Out of the 10 maidens, 5 are wise maidens, 5 are foolish maidens. The 5 wise maidens are, the first one is the maiden of goodness, or it symbolizes goodness. The second one symbolizes wisdom. The third one symbolizes love. The fourth one symbolizes justice. And there is one more, truth. Maybe the sequence could be incorrect, but the truth, the goodness, the wisdom, the truth, the love, and justice. So each of these phrases are associated with a chakra. For example, you already know by now, love is associated with heart chakra. So is it possible that the other phrases that are being used in the prayer, they're also associated with certain chakra and they have an effect on certain chakra, right? If you have done the meditation on the Lord's Prayer, some of the hints are mentioned in that meditation also. Now, each phrase or each word corresponds to it, right? So now let's see what happens when we bless the earth with peace as an example. When in the meditation it says, Lord, make me an instrument of your peace, and then Master adds a line, bless the entire earth, every person, every being, let there be divine peace, right? So what is the meaning of your peace or my peace? Is my peace different from your peace? Or what is the difference between the peace and the so-called divine peace? In pranic psychotherapy, we have learned to energize the back heart chakra of a patient to induce inner peace. Now, is that the only type of peace? Perhaps not. That's why the phrase is specifically the divine peace. Now, this energy of divine peace comes from the Supreme God. Now, when you say divine peace, in the first phase of the meditation, as you are focusing on your heart, we know by studying pranic psychotherapy that the energy of peace goes into the heart. But because it is not just the peace, it is divine peace. Where is the divine energy entering into our system? The crown. So whether you know it or not, even though you're blessing through your heart or from your heart, the first chakra that gets triggered is the crown, because you're talking about or receiving the divine peace. It enters from the crown and also triggers the heart chakra. So that is the beginning of the meditation. And that is what the whole Twin Hearts anyway is about, right? The heart and the crown. Because we know that heart chakra is replicated in the crown. That's why the term Twin Hearts. Now, from there, in fact, you can actually scan it. Let's probably do a very simple experiment, shall we? All of you can just simply scan your crown, scan your heart, energy in your heart, energy in your crown. Just get a rough idea. Those who are, if you are, anybody of you is not from pranic healing background, it's okay. You can just try anyway. Scan the energy of your heart, then energy of your crown. Okay. Also try scanning some other chakra. Say, for example, I don't know, let's say navel chakra, just as a third option, so that you know that where the energy is moving or not moving. Try scanning your navel chakra. Okay. Energy of your navel. Get a rough idea. Okay. Now just raise your hand in blessing. Be aware of your heart. Visualize the earth in front of you. With awareness on your heart, you say, Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Bless every person, every being with divine peace. May every person be blessed with divine peace, without exception. So be it. Okay. Now, check the energy. Check your scan. Scan your heart, scan your crown, scan your navel. Or you can also scan your Mingmen, for example. What you will notice, most likely, some of you might still be scanning, but while other chakras will get some energy, it is not that they will not. But the most predominant effect is on the heart and the crown when you talk about the phrase or the word peace. Whether you are aware of it or not, it triggers your heart and crown, both. Now from there, what is the next one? Love. So look at the exact phrase. What it says, wherever there is hatred, let me sow love. So which chakras will get more energy compared to others? So if somebody has hatred, which chakra is affected? From pranic healing perspective, we know that it is solar plexus chakra. Where is love? Heart chakra. So when you say, wherever there is hatred, let me sow love, which chakra will benefit more? The solar plexus will become normalized. The energy from the solar plexus, the energy of so-called HATE, will be pulled up by the heart chakra, transformed into love. Therefore, in the second phrase, when you say, wherever there is hatred, let me sow love, you're actually healing, or the energy automatically goes to your solar plexus and the heart. Now, you've done pranic psychotherapy, you are aware that these are the two chakras which are center of emotions. So in that sense, when these two chakras get healed, you are healing the entire, or blessing or healing the entire astral body or the emotional body of all the people in the world. Amazing, right? Now, of course, there are many other words he speaks in between, but let's just focus on the key words here. The next word is what? Forgiveness. So, but the complete phrase is what? Wherever there is injury, let me sow pardon and forgiveness. So what type of injury we are talking about? It is a physical injury, emotional injury, right? Now, sometimes when somebody injures you emotionally, especially emotionally, many people have a tendency to think, or they want to get even with the person, right? Now, if they had an opportunity to get even, they can sleep peacefully at night. They'll say, okay, I got my return, I have taken my so-called revenge. If you ask such a person to practice forgiveness, you'll say, what for? I have got even, nothing is there. He did or she did something to me, I have done, given back, clear, my account is clear. But in most cases, we are, in many people, they do not have the so-called opportunity to in a way get even. Of course, I'm not saying that you express in that way, but what it means is, because we don't express our negative emotions, we try to suppress them or bottle them up, it gets lodged in the chakras. Okay, so when they get lodged and they keep getting pushed down inside the chakra, which then affects the different chakras, the pain and the injury. And the incident may have happened once or twice or whatever, but it is us, because we are not able to release that emotion, we continue to hurt ourselves. So which chakras get affected if this happens? Where is a desire for revenge? Solar plexus. But when there is forgiveness, it comes from heart. So again, in this phrase, the focus is on the healing of solar plexus and the heart chakra. And of course, like we said earlier, it also energy goes partially to the main chakra, and it helps to heal the etheric body. The healing of main helps to heal the etheric body. Healing of solar plexus and the heart chakra heal the emotional body. So if you notice, in the two lines, the focus is already on the emotional body. Why extra focus on emotional body? Because whether we like it or not, most of the souls on this planet Earth are still struggling on emotional level. So that is what it is. Next is hope. I'm just trying to go a little faster now. It's almost an hour from time we started. We want to meditate as well. But let's just cover a couple of phrases. Next is hope. Now, what it says, wherever there is despair, let there be hope. Now, what happens there? When there is despair, what happens? Have you experienced despair? If you have, then you would know, in the times of despair, you have this so-called helplessness, loneliness, darkness, sadness, right? And if somebody is in the state of despair, the person could also sometimes be even thinking, I don't know, suicidal, for example, because there is no hope. So what does it mean to have no hope? Because when that happens, the so-called darkness, the person does not see, does not, note my word, does not see a way out, cannot see clearly, cannot see the alternative. They are stuck in a rut, right? Now, when that happens, and that is what we were talking earlier, that they are not able to see the light at the end of the tunnel. So to change it into hope, to be able to have hope, there has to be, so that's why in some situation like these, what do the people resort to? They say, God, I don't know anything. It is now up to you to help me. Isn't it? Something like that. So there must be something called divine intervention. When that happens, your intuition is triggered. You have an inner guidance. In pranic healing, you have already learned the chakras of intuition. So when you say this phrase, wherever there is despair, let there be hope, your intuition chakras are triggered, which are the crown and the forehead. So the energy goes both ways. The next one is the faith. Where there is doubt, let me sow faith, or let there be faith. When a person has doubt, when a person is full of doubts, so psychologically speaking, what is the makeup of the person? It's not clear. They can't think clearly. Mind is not clear. Mind is muddled. Now, again, mark my words. And I'm saying, stressing on the word thinking and the mind. What chakras come to your mind? Wow. Thinking of the mind, what chakras come to your mind? The thinking chakras, the Agnya chakra and the throat chakra. The next line, which is about light, wherever there is darkness, let there be light. Now, in fact, before that, right? Okay, let me cover the light aspect first. The light, again, is an ability to, the light is synonym, esoterically speaking, to knowledge and wisdom, right? So you're able to see clearly. But you understand that this light is coming later. It is not coming at the first phase. It is coming much later. Without developing the other qualities of love and forgiveness and many other things, light is not yet enabled. Why? Please understand, when there is, let's say there is a room and completely dark, right? And you can't see anything. Fair enough. Suddenly you light a candle or something like that. Now you can see everything in the room. Now, whether you like it or not, when there is light, you will not only see the things which are good, but you will also see the things which are not good or ugly. When there is light within you, you will also become aware of your weaknesses, your vices, and your mistakes and things like that. And if you're not ready, instead of improving, you will, beat yourself and say, yeah, I'm the worst person on the planet Earth, or whatever. That's why before that happens, really, truly speaking, there is already a process of alchemy starting in your heart chakra. You're able to experience love and forgiveness and many other things you're able to think clearly. Then the light comes into you. You gain that knowledge and the wisdom. So again, this is symbolic to your throat chakra. So these two phases of faith and the light correspond to your Agnya and throat, which are related with your mental body. So these phrases then are related with your mental body. What about the last one? Where there is sadness, let there be joy. What is being blessed now? Your etheric body is clean because of the Meng chakra. So yeah, the Meng chakra. Then your etheric body, so your emotional body, because of your heart and solar. Then your intuition is being triggered. Then your mental bodies are being triggered, or cleaned, or purified, or enabled. And finally, one of the things that people experience is the so-called emptiness. You may have everything, you may have all the happiness in the world, but you may have all the resources, all the money, all the things. At the end of the day, the person still feels empty. One of the reasons of this emptiness is because the person still identifies with the physical body. The biggest darkness for the soul is being in the body and the bodies That's why it is said that in Tibetan Buddhism, it's said that to be born is to be dead is to be born. That's very interesting. To be born is to be dead. When the soul incarnates in the body, takes on the various bodies, it is limited. It is limited by its own senses and all of those things. But when the bodies are discarded at the time of death, the soul is truly liberated. Instead of being an ice cube, the soul becomes a steam, expanded, right? The freedom. So one of the things about the soul is that sadness, right? And when we change that, when we are able to help so many people, automatically we have this sense of inner joy. The incarnated soul truly realizes, number one, that it is not the bodies. Number two, it realizes the lesson of service. Because when that truly happens, when you are able to change not only your life, but the life of everybody or many people around you, is when the soul truly feels it has fulfilled its purpose. It is not just to come and gather experiences on its own. Self-interest is good. That is what one of the purposes of the soul is, but also to realize that it comes down for others. When that happens, then there is inner joy. So when you are blessing the entire earth with from sadness to joy, may there be a spiritual awakening among all the people that there is something beyond physical. There is something beyond happiness. That there is something beyond all the material things that we see. And perhaps it will trigger that seed within them. It will sprout. And hopefully they will also be then on the definitive path of spiritual development. So that is this line about, right? So we'll not go through the entire prayer. That is probably, I mean, we have given you enough inputs. There are so many other words that Master has used in the prayer, strength and understanding and harmony and so on and so forth. And then there is the second part of the prayer. We are not going in those details, but think like this. Hopefully it gives you a train of thoughts, the way to reflect on these things. You may have to refer some of his books to be able to pick the dots, and then you can connect the dots together, right? So try to cover as much in short we could. Let me see if there are any questions, by the way, just in case. So Ananda, or the bliss, in a way, see, we have to understand that the English language is not entirely sufficient to express everything that we truly experience, right? And not only English, all the earthly languages cannot really describe. In some way, the bliss and the joy can be synonyms in a way. However, bliss brings the joy, joy brings the bliss. Difficult to explain. A bliss can perhaps be experienced when, let's say, there can be many instances. For example, when you truly love someone, and at a lower level of its manifestation, like people say that, right? When they are with their loved one and they have a very beautiful interaction or something like that, as if they are in a state of bliss, you really experience the oneness with your partner, right? Now, this is one level of understanding. Another level is how does this oneness experienced? For example, in your meditation, when you go beyond the confines of your physical body awareness, your emotional body awareness, your mental body awareness, you go beyond them, you are able to experience the oneness of the incarnated soul and the higher soul. So that is another so-called union. One at the lower level, when you experience it with your so-called beloved. From the spiritual perspective, when the incarnated soul experiences the oneness with the higher soul, the merging of it or the union of it, there is this divine ecstasy and the bliss, which is again beyond words. It can only be experienced. What else? Now, sometimes I think I'm reminded of a beautiful line, I think from Sri Rabindranath Tagore, or maybe when you have, let me just try to recollect the line exactly how it was. When a person sows a seed in the knowledge that when the tree grows, he will never be able to savor or experience the fruit, and it does for others, the person has truly learned to live, or something like that. I may not be speaking the exact words there, but when you do something for others and when their life changes, there is this inner, again, it can only be experienced perhaps, like I said. I remember having that experience once when there was this colleague of mine. We came across each other accidentally, or incidentally. I would not say accidentally, incidentally. And she was looking for a doctor for a specific issue in life. And then by Master's grace, we did healing in just about 4 or 5 healings. Problem got resolved. By the way, she was trying to conceive. For many years, they tried everything, nothing worked. But just after 5, 6 healings or something around that, she was able to conceive. So personally, what I felt was that I could really change the life of not only one individual, but the entire family. For me, that joy was just there. I mean, I can't explain in words. I don't know how to explain it, to be honest with you. It can only be experienced, and all of you are healers. You may have sometime or the other experience when you are happy in others' happiness, right? Without anything in return. That's perhaps one definition of joy. Okay, right. So see if there are any other questions. Otherwise, we'll go for the meditation. All right. So let's go for the meditation now. Sit comfortably. I hope you've done your exercises. If not, take a few seconds to get up, shake your body a bit, because it's only an hour from the time we started. Close your eyes. Normalize your breathing. Keep your tongue on your palate. Now let us invoke for divine blessings. To the Supreme God, we humbly invoke for your divine blessings, for light, love, guidance, protection, and illumination. With thanks and in full faith, we thank you. Now inhale slowly and exhale slowly. Inhale slowly, exhale slowly. Visualize a small earth in front of you, the size of a small ball. And visualize that you are inside a big sun, a cool, soothing sun. Concentrate on your heart. Be aware that you are the sun. Raise your hands in blessing at your chest level. Bless the entire earth with loving kindness. Silently repeat after me. Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Bless the earth with peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Look at the earth with your mind's eye. Gently and lovingly visualize the earth filled with love. Visualize the aura of the earth turning pink. Love. 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 Where there is injury, pardon. Bless the entire earth, every person, every being, with forgiveness, with reconciliation. So be it. Be aware of the people who have hurt you. Silently say, I forgive you. I forgive my childhood. I forgive my parents, teachers. I forgive my life. I forgive and let go of my past. I let go of all the injury and pain. So be it. Now be aware of your family members. Bless them with the spirit of forgiveness. May they be blessed with forgiveness. May they be able to let go of their inner pain and injury. So be it. Let these energies of forgiveness spread throughout the earth. Be aware that there have been many wars and conflicts in the past between different nations, different cultures and traditions, and people have been hurt in the past. May every person, every being on Mother Earth be blessed with forgiveness, with reconciliation, with harmony and divine peace. So be it. Om. Where there is despair, hope, doubt, faith, may every person, every being be blessed with hope and with faith. Now put your hands in the receptive posture, facing upwards, and be aware of any area of your life which you feel helpless about, for which you have not been able to find an answer. And you offer this aspect of your life to the Supreme Being, to your spiritual teacher, to the higher beings. Offer them and say, Lord, please heal this aspect of my life, this part of my life. On my own, I am not much capable, but my limitations are not your limitations. Thank you for healing this part of my life. In full faith, thank you. Now raise your hands in blessing and be aware that there are many people on earth who are in despair, the many destitutes. For them, there is no hope, but send the energies of hope and faith towards all of them. May all of them be blessed with hope and with faith. May they have an inner knowing that there is a better tomorrow. May they be blessed with hope and with faith. May they be able to see the light at the end of the tunnel. May they be guided. May they have a better life. So be it. Where there is darkness, let there be light. You say, and be aware first. Put your hands in the receptive posture, facing upward. And again, be aware of any answers that you have been seeking. The so-called darkness which has engulfed you. You say, Lord, please bless me with light, with wisdom, with clarity of mind, that I may see the light, that I may find my answers. Thank you also for blessing me with courage and strength. And thank you also for blessing me with the ability to shine my light, that it may take the darkness away from the life of many, many other people. Thank you. Now put your hands in the blessing posture. Be aware of the entire earth. May every person, every being be blessed with light, with wisdom to do what is right and to refrain from unwholesome actions and behaviors. So be it. Oh. Where there is sadness, joy. Visualize your face in front of you and see yourself smiling, laughing. You can see yourself in your best laughter. You can see your teeth. You can see your inside of the mouth. You can see yourself laughing out loud, enjoying, happy, joyful. And now visualize the faces of your loved ones, your family members, one by one, and see them laughing in their best laughter, happy. First person, second person, third person, fourth person. If you have a big family, of course, you have to spend a little longer. But just visualize them laughing, happy, joyful. And now be aware of the entire earth. Visualize the faces of the people who have been having difficulty in their life. They are happy, they are able to find the answers and the resources and everything that they need. See them smiling. Wherever there is sadness, let there be joy. So be it. Oh. Now put your hands down on your laps with your palms facing upwards. Be aware of 12 inches above your head. Visualize a point of light on top of your head, shining brightly. We will chant Om. We will chant Om 3 times first, verbally. As we chant the Om verbally, it has an effect in purifying our physical etheric bodies. Let us chant, all of us, with awareness. Om. With every chant of your Om, be aware of the stillness and the gap between the Oms, and simultaneously be aware that your light on top of the head is becoming brighter and brighter, turning into a flame. Now for the next 3 Oms, whisper it. Just simply whisper the Om. As you whisper the Om, the effect is more on your emotional body. Let us start. Be still. Be aware of the emotional stillness. And now chant the Om mentally 3 times. As we chant the Om mentally 3 times, it has a deeper cleansing effect on the mental body. Simultaneously visualize your light on top of your head becoming brighter. Let us start. Be still. Be aware and let go. Do not resist. Just flow. Let go. Gently, slowly come back to your body. Move your fingers, move your toes, move your feet. Come back to your body right now. Raise your hands in blessing. Visualize Mother Earth in front of you. Let us release all the excess energy. May the entire earth be blessed with divine light, love, and power. May the whole of Mother Earth be blessed. Let every person be blessed. Every person, every being be blessed, without exception, including the people that you do not get along with. May all of them be blessed. May the holy angels be blessed. Let the nature spirits be blessed. Let all the sentient beings be blessed. Let all the holy gurus, holy masters be blessed. May all the invisible helpers be blessed. So be it. Bless your family, your relatives, your friends. If you have your patients, your healing patients, you may also include them in the blessing. May every person be blessed, be healed. You say, as I received freely, I give freely. Do not hold on to the energies that your body cannot handle. Just release all excess energy. May every person, every being be blessed. So be it. So be it. So be it. Now put your hands down, facing downwards. Be aware of the base of your spine and the soles of your feet and your palms. Visualize light going down into Mother Earth, spreading like a root, and then sub-roots and sub-sub-roots. May Mother Earth be blessed, be healed, be revitalized, be rejuvenated. Blessings be to Mother Earth. I am rooted and connected to Mother Earth. So be it. Release all the excess energy. May Mother Earth be blessed. So be it. May Mother Earth be revitalized, rejuvenated, regenerated. So be it. So be it, and so it is. Let us do the Thanksgiving prayer to the Supreme God. We thank you for your blessings. To all the holy masters, holy gurus, holy saints, holy angels, to all the visible and invisible helpers, we thank you for your priceless blessings. Thank you. In full faith, we thank you. You may gently open your eyes with a big, big smile. All right. So that was the meditation and the lecture. We hope you enjoyed the session. If there are any questions, we can extend for another 5 minutes or so, or something like that. If not, we can close the session. I know it's been a little longer one, but we hope you definitely enjoyed it. Please make sure you do your physical exercises afterwards. And if you still feel congested, you can also sweep the excess energy. If your head is feeling heavy, you can sweep the energy. Let the excess energy from your head area be swept away, swept down to your body. Let the body absorb the energy. And also distribute it to your arms. You can also visualize your body in front of you, and from your head area, just sweep the energy backwards. Let the energy spread. Let the energy be distributed. Okay, so you will feel lighter, right? Okay, then I'm guessing there are no more questions. That's why I'm not seeing any chats. People have questions? Okay. Let me enable you to be able to unmute yourself. 1 second. And I will need to remove that. Are you guys still able to hear me? Am I audible?
Yes.
Manaji, yes.
Okay, sure. So yeah, anybody has question? Shwamita, you raised hands. You have a question.
Hi. I was trying to unmute myself. I am trying to understand why in some cases where we are constantly blessing someone or something, and it just doesn't seem to have any effect.
Increase your blessing. Sometimes, like where we say, when the darkness increases, the only way to tackle it is to increase the light, right? What you may be seeing is perhaps there is a partial difference or perhaps no difference, which means the darkness is still more, the light is still, you may be thinking you're projecting a lot, but perhaps this is much more. There is one way to look at it. Number one. Number two is qualitatively and quantitatively, there would always be a difference. The difference may not become evident upfront, right? Or even as you perhaps, if you are trying to do it for, I don't know, maybe a few months or years, who knows? But at the soul level, there is always a difference. And that is what we even talked about in our session on power and use of thoughts, how no such blessing, no such pouring of good thoughts towards someone goes waste, not a single one. You may not be able to see the effect now, but rest assured that it is accumulating. It's like, for example, you take a pot and you're filling a drop, you are not seeing anything coming out yet, right? Till the time it is really full. So you're sending, something is going, perhaps the drop is getting absorbed by the dry, what is that? Dry, what is it? Ghada made of, right? Something like that. So that mitti, forgetting the word, that clay. So maybe there is a lot more required, and then once it goes, and finally it will start to overflow from there. So in that sense, you understand that maybe there is still a lot more required. You have not reached the so-called break-even point. So that is the thing. Any more questions? No? Okay. I guess, of course, if you have more questions, you can address it later in the group. We can obviously answer that, right? So thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining. Have a wonderful evening ahead, and we'll see you next time. Namaste to all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Atma Namaste.
Thank you for the wonderful session.
Thank you, Manaji. It was a very wonderful session.
Atma Namaste.